Thank you for joining us to discuss the Red Tape Reduction Implementation Act. With us today, we have the Associate Minister of Red Tape Reduction, Tanya Fur, the Minister of Finance and President of Treasury Board, Travis Taves, the Minister of Energy, Sonia Savage, the Minister of Justice and Solicitor General, Casey Madu, and Candice Machado, with the President and CEO of Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis. Following the remarks from Minister Fur and Minister Taves, we'll open it up to questions, but for right now, I'll turn it over to Minister Fur to provide her remarks.
Great. Thanks, Justin. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for some very exciting red tape reduction news. First, I will talk about Bill 80, the Red Tape Reduction Implementation Act that I will introduce in the legislature later today, and I am also here to speak with you about the release of the Red Tape Reduction Annual Report. The annual report updates you on our progress to date in fulfilling our promise to cut red tape by 1/3, making life easier for Albertans while saving them and their businesses time and money. The Red Tape Reduction Implementation Act is another step forward in reaching our goal and provides a roadmap for our continued commitment to cut red tape and drive Alberta's economic recovery. Before I go further, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues with me today. President of Treasury Board and Minister of Finance, Travis Taves, will speak shortly, as well as the Minister of Justice and Solicitor General, Casey Madu, along with the Minister of Energy, Sonia Savage, and also Candice Machado, President and CEO of Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis. In 2019, Alberta's government committed to cutting red tape by 1/3 by 2023. We set out on a course to address the burdens that make government operations inefficient, that hinder businesses and job creators, and that make interacting with government difficult for Albertans. We looked within government and convened 9 industry-specific panels so we could prioritize our efforts based on expert advice. Members of these industry panels represent core sectors of Alberta's economy, including oil and gas, tourism and hospitality, small business, industrial manufacturing, chemical manufacturing, forestry, agriculture, food and bioindustrial, nonprofit, and construction. We also asked all Albertans to share their encounters with government red tape and to provide their suggestions on how to eliminate it. This input helped us make significant reductions in the first year of the Red Tape Reduction Initiative. To date, we've completed hundreds of red tape reduction initiatives that are helping job creators do what they do best: innovate, grow, and create jobs for hardworking Albertans. In 2 short years, with more than 18% of red tape cut, Albertans have already benefited from a savings of over $1.2 billion. With the feedback of the industry experts and ideas of Albertans from across the province, we've made great strides to becoming the freest, fastest-moving economy in North America. And while we've made excellent progress, we need to continue to work hard to make life easier and more affordable for Albertans. Today, I'm proud to introduce Bill 80, the Red Tape Reduction Implementation Act 2021, number 2. This is the 5th red tape reduction implementation bill that our government has brought forward since the beginning of our mandate. The bill proposes changes to 9 pieces of legislation brought forward by 6 departments. These changes would contribute to Alberta's economic growth and recovery by opening up new opportunities for businesses, removing redundant requirements, and streamlining the delivery of government services, saving time and money for businesses and Albertans. Bill 80 would improve the Alberta Human Rights Commission processes to allow human rights complaints to be addressed more quickly, reduce backlogs, and make human rights tribunal hearings more accessible for Albertans. The Commission plays a crucial role in making sure all Albertans are treated fairly and equally. It's time we made it easier and faster for Albertans to have their human rights affirmed and upheld. This bill also amends the Mines and Minerals Act to enable an easier and more efficient process, when necessary, to replace a designated representative who is no longer performing their duties in managing Crown mineral agreements. This helps avoid the financial and administrative burden of obtaining a court order while ensuring the continued management of these agreements and the revenue generated by the responsible development of Alberta's resources. These amendments would enable us to remove at least 870 unnecessary and overly burdensome regulatory requirements from government's legislation, regulations, policies, and forms. And this is only adding to the work that we've already done. So far, our 5 red tape reduction implementation bills have allowed us to remove more than 3,300 unnecessary requirements, moving us closer to reaching our objective of cutting red tape by 1/3. There is no doubt that meaningful progress has been made to reduce red tape for Albertans, some of which are highlighted in the Red Tape Reduction Annual Report, which I will also be tabling in the Legislature today. The report highlights our efforts to reduce red tape in the second reporting year from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. I'm proud to report that in the last year, we were able to ramp up our efforts, leading to a reduction in red tape that is now over 18%. This means that we have eliminated about 122,000 regulatory requirements so far, saving Albertans and their businesses over $1.2 billion. But these last couple years weren't without challenges. The pandemic reaffirmed the importance of reducing red tape and removing barriers for Albertans, and we did so in a way that made life easier for Albertans during the pandemic. This report details our actions to support Albertans and their businesses. By cutting red tape, we've been able to introduce virtual doctor visits, allow liquor manufacturers to produce hand sanitizer, and make many other legislation changes to keep Albertans safe and support economic recovery. Many of the initiatives undertaken by government in response to the pandemic have since been made permanent, decreasing the costs of doing business, speeding up approvals, and providing more options for Albertans to access goods and services safely and more conveniently. This report also details our partnerships with industry experts and municipalities to make many impactful red tape reductions. For example, as part of the municipal stimulus program, municipalities reduced red tape to make it easier to start a new business in their communities, streamline processes for permit approvals, and attract new investment in tourism. Other projects in this year's Red Tape Reduction Annual Report highlight achievements that support economic recovery through direct cost savings to industry that will stimulate investment and create new private sector jobs for Albertans. For example, we were able to achieve $713 million in savings in 2020-2021 for Alberta's energy industry while continuing to protect the environment and ensure the safety of Alberta's workforce. These are just a few of the many red tape reduction initiatives outlined in the annual report. Our government will continue to listen to Albertans and take action, and we know we still have a lot of work ahead of us. I'll now turn it over to Minister Taves to highlight the amendments being proposed in Bill 80 from Treasury Board and Finance.
Well, thank you, Minister Fern. Thank you for leading government's efforts to cut red tape and carrying the momentum forward. Cutting red tape is more than just a catchphrase. It's about improving our business environment and getting government out of the way. It's about economic diversification and job creation. We've already seen businesses take advantage of our recent red tape reduction measures. For example, effective this past October, businesses can now authorize third-party organizations, such as accounting firms, to access their corporate income tax information from the government's online portal and manage their clients' accounts. This is a functional and common sense change that streamlines processes, most notably for small businesses, especially those who don't have an in-house finance team. Related to this piece are new provisions allowing taxpayers to sign documents digitally and provide documents electronically. Prior to this change, Albertans had to use paper documents with handwritten signatures, in turn increasing administrative costs. Again, these are functional and time-saving changes that reduce the necessity for Albertans to meet in person and streamlines processing times in the entire system. I'm also proud to highlight the elimination of the Alberta Indian Tax Exemption card, effective as of October 2021. This change responds to concerns from First Nations communities around the duplication and red tape for Indigenous peoples associated with having to apply for and maintain both the federal and provincial card. This change removes an extra layer of bureaucracy for over 100,000 Indigenous people in Alberta, while providing improved access to treaty rights. Perhaps the most popular have been our changes to existing liquor policies that now allow restaurants and bars to sell liquor and mixed drinks with takeout and delivery orders. This change supported more than 5,300 bars and restaurants by providing opportunities for additional sources of revenue, helping more of them stay in business during the pandemic and keep Albertans employed. These changes speak to government's ongoing commitment to eliminating over-regulation that imposes unnecessary burden on Albertans and businesses. It also speaks to our focus on digital transformation that makes accessing services more convenient, reduces wait times for businesses and citizens, and saves taxpayers money. And today I'm proud to say that we're expanding our red tape reduction measures even farther. Bill 80, the Red Tape Reduction Implementation Act, amends several pieces of Treasury Board and finance legislation. As part of today's bill, we're introducing measures that will give a boost to the hospitality sector and many small businesses in the heart of our communities by allowing municipalities to pass their own bylaws to create entertainment districts. Within these districts, adults can safely and responsibly consume alcohol without being in a restaurant or bar. It would also open up opportunities for food trucks and kiosks to serve alcohol within the designated boundaries. During our consultation with stakeholders on this piece, we've received a significant amount of interest and enthusiasm from a variety of parties and believe this initiative presents an exciting opportunity to attract and support tourism and create positive economic spin-offs for surrounding businesses. The bill also enables licensed cannabis retailers to diversify their businesses by allowing them to enter the online market. In addition to being able to sell cannabis online, private operators can now sell cannabis-related items such as glassware and branded apparel. This measure not only reduces red tape, but it will help to curb the illegal trade in cannabis. We're also making a number of changes to the Loan and Trust Corporations Act. These changes will reduce red tape and regulatory burden and ensure consumer protection. Today's announcement represents a small sample of the great work this government has done on red tape reduction. Since 2019, government has reduced over 115,000. In fact, I think I heard Minister Furr say over 120,000 of its regulatory requirements, saving Alberta's job creators and government over $1 billion. Many of the changes were initiatives identified by industry panels, including the changes announced today. But we're not done, and our red tape reduction effort will carry on beyond this bill. We will continue to listen to Albertans and Alberta businesses and rely on them for their expertise to identify regulatory barriers that are getting in the way of economic growth. I look forward to ongoing engagement with Albertans as we work together to improve and modernize our regulatory environment. And with that, I will turn it over to Minister Furr for closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting Treasury Board and Finance amendments, Minister Taves. I am proud of the work we've done so far. The success in reducing red tape in the first 2 years shows we are moving in the right direction. Cutting red tape helps create the strong and stable business environment we need to boost job creation. As we deal with the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, these efforts are more important than ever. Looking ahead, we will continue to identify, reduce, and eliminate red tape that causes regulatory and administrative burden for Albertans. And we will continue to work with key sectors to help with this task. I encourage all Albertans to continue contributing their ideas on where we can cut red tape. Please share your suggestions at alberta.ca/cutredtape. Thank you, and happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Minister Furr. Just a reminder for the reporters that are joining us in person, just state your name and the outlet that you're with. So with that, we'll start with the reporters in the room. So go ahead, Janet.
Hi, it's Janet French from CBC. I think my first question is for Minister Taves. while you get organized, I will start talking. How are things going with the doctors? Obviously, this addresses the issue more formally of not or delaying the limitation of practice IDs geographically. So how close are you to actually reaching another tentative agreement with the AMA? What is your timeline for coming up with something that doctors could potentially consider and vote on again?
Well, Janet, I can't share a timeline with you today because I don't have one, but I can say that there are ongoing constructive discussions at this point in time. So I'm hopeful that sooner than later we'll reach an agreement with physicians, and an agreement that will serve physicians well, and an agreement that will also serve taxpayers and those all of us Albertans who depend on our medical system every day.
And I'm not sure if this next one is for Minister Taves or Minister Madhu. I wanted to know about your comment. You said that this bill, Bill 80, could potentially help curb illegal trade in cannabis by selling it online. How do you see that happening?
So really one of our primary goals in this environment where cannabis is legal is to see legal cannabis trade, the legal trade displace ultimately the illicit trade, the black market trade. And so we would expect that a more robust online presence in the legal trade would have real potential to displace some of the illicit trade that takes place now.
Thanks, Janet. So with that, we will turn it over to the phones. Operator, can you please put through the first caller?
Irina Jujkik, CBC French.
Yeah, hello. I think this would be for the AGLC primarily. The bill says that cannabis stores would be able to sell a limited amount of branded items like apparel. I'm wondering, do you expect any concerns or pushback, because there was a lot of that concerning publicity around cannabis when they were starting to sell it. So yeah, wouldn't that be a sort of publicity to be able to sell these?
These changes basically would align with the approach that AGLC's taken with liquor products and liquor retail. So again, cannabis retailers would be allowed to sell related products and apparel. This has, cannabis retailers have certainly expressed interest, advocated for, some expansion of product lines just for competitiveness and retail viability.
And did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, well, would there be any sort of rules around that? Would they be able to sell those online as well? And yeah.
There will be rules around what type of products would be considered related products or apparel, and AGLC will be working on developing the specifics. Again, our expectation is that those specific rules will again align generally with the approach taken with liquor retail.
Thank you. Operator, can you please put through the next caller?
Ashley Joanno, Postmedia Edmonton.
Hi, good morning. I am hoping someone can give me a bit of a timeline for when the AGLC will be pulling out of online sales. It says 90 days after the amendments come into force, but we don't really have a sense right now of when the amendments will come into force.
Sure. Well, and good question in terms of timing. We would anticipate, we would hope that Bill 80 will be passed in this fall sitting and receive royal assent shortly after, and AGLC will effectively then have 90 days to make the transition. So I think one could conclude that perhaps mid Q1 2022 we'll see this transition take place.
Okay, fair enough. And then I guess, can someone just walk me through how you think creating these entertainment districts will actually be cutting red tape? I'm not sure I see the connection.
Well, I mean, ultimately, cutting red tape is also enabling activity that couldn't occur before because of regulatory barrier. So that's really what is involved here with enabling municipalities to designate entertainment districts. Again, this will ultimately come down to municipalities that choose to create an entertainment district within their municipality, and it will be at their discretion. But it's really about getting government out of the way and enabling an activity that couldn't take place before.
All right, thank you. Operator, can you please put through the next caller?
Dylan Stolsky, CTV.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. It's just in regards to the changes to insurance, designating fee setting to industry officials and kind of removing the requirement for cabinet approval. I'm wondering what motivated that decision, and will there be a cap on how much those fees can be raised or changed?
So yes, good question. The impetus for making this change was so that in fact fees could keep up with change in the industry. And during the pandemic, we've experienced change at a much greater rate than we've experienced in the past. And so fee setting by regulation is typically cumbersome and slow and not particularly nimble. This will in fact improve the speed and timing of appropriate fee changes as dynamics and circumstances change within the industry.
And did you have a follow-up?
And just as a follow-up, I guess, for that question, is there going to be a cap on how much those fees can be raised and changed? I know there was some mention of ministerial oversight. I'm just wondering what that cap looks like.
Well, we haven't identified a cap, but the Alberta Insurance Council will be ultimately responsible for establishing fees, but those fees will have to be approved by the minister. So that's effectively, that will provide effective oversight over fee changes, but we really believe that it's most appropriate for really that fee structure to be recommended by those closest to the ground on this issue.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us today. That wraps up the event.